Hello. One of my network has asked this question. Our organization is focused on the short term, on billing time to clients to earn short term revenues. Everyone has to prioritize this. So there's no focus, no incentive to make time for change, whether it's technical, whether it's processes, procedures, mindsets. There's just no willingness within the business to introduce change. What can we do? Because that's our role. We're supposed to be bringing change and we're just meeting blockages. What can we do? So, perhaps this is an issue that you have, that you face, and it's an issue of any organization or any business division or team that's focused on bringing in revenues for this financial year. And of course, the big issue is that any organization that focuses predominantly on the short term and ignores the medium and the long term ends up not existing in the long term. Maybe in 10 years' time, the organization will not exist. It will have completely ceased to exist, or it will have been brought out and it will be something completely different. Because short term, of course, because it's short term, that's all it is, short term. The company, and of course what will happen is your competitors won't be just short term. They'll spot the gap and they will go for your customers, your clients, and they'll gradually steal them all away, and there will be shrinking revenues. Yeah. And of course, when the focus is on short term, executives don't recognize there's a problem until it's too late. Yeah. So our role then, if we're the change professional, whether we work in-house or we're a consultant, is to help the leaders recognize that they need to take that. Yes, they're not going to forget revenues, but they need to focus on the medium and long term as well. So of course the question is, how do we persuade them to do that? So here are some ideas. Highlight the issues with a short-term focus. So what are the issues for finances? What are the issues for market share and for brand and reputation? What are the issues for employees? What are the issues for getting the most out of resources and assets? And of course, that will be different for each organization. So it's working out what those are. And then what are the consequences in the medium term? And then what are the consequences in the long term? And there are lots of examples of organizations that have shrunk and ceased to exist because they only focused on the short term and they didn't look ahead. And of course, one of the issues of looking ahead is when we're thinking about who our disruptors are, we either think about them from our perspective, so who does exactly what we do or similar to what we do, or we look at them from our audience's perspective, our customers, our clients, our consumers, and say, what need do they have that they're coming to us to satisfy, and what else could satisfy that need? And then we're really opening up our concept of who our competitors are. And of course, if we don't do that, we fail in the long term. Then we show how, if the organization changes and if it introduces changes, it can continue to exist in the long term. And of course, that's all about meeting customer needs over the long term and about responding to what's happening in our marketplace. So the external marketplace, it's looking externally. Then share what pain is needed now to continue in the medium and long term, to have benefits then. Because of course there are costs. There are costs we need to take now for long-term gains. And the question is the organization willing to take those? And it might be that they're not, that the leaders only see themselves being in the organization for maybe another 4 or 5 or 6 years. And so they don't care about the future. They just care about the time that they're going to be in the business. And then compare short-term costs with long-term gains. And that highlights the benefits. And then, give an overview of what change means. So what does change mean in this organization? What are people going to experience? And what's it going to be like? You know, once the change is in, what are things going to be like? Because by and large, people are used to change. They experience it all the time in their lives. They've probably experienced it in the business and in previous organizations. But what they often can't imagine is how their current role will change. So they don't know whether they're going to like the new role, the new way of working when it comes in. And so here it's helping them see that they will like it, especially the senior leaders who are going to make the decision to change, the initial decision to change. And then it's a call to action for executives to make the commitment, to be willing to introduce change in their part of the business. That means there will be both a short-term and a long-term focus. So again, I'm really interested in hearing your perspectives. I'm sure that, you know, this sounds familiar to you. You have worked in organizations where it's very, very short-term focused, and no one's looking at the long term, and it's really frustrating for you. So if you've had this issue and you've found ways of resolving it, please do share in the comments so that we can all benefit from your experiences.